The Sunday school lesson for September the 14th, 2025 is Celebrating the Past. Second Chronicles chapter 30, verses 1 through 9 and verses 26 through 27. Welcome, viewers and subscribers, to my channel, The Backstory and More. I am Audrey. If you are new here and you are interested in knowing what happens before each Sunday school class, you are at the right place because I will share the backstory, read the lesson text, and offer a brief lesson summary in order to keep this video and my other videos in the YouTube algorithm. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Thank you for all that you do to help this channel grow. The backstory takes us to Second Chronicles chapter 29. And there we find that Hezekiah was one of the best kings to reign in Judah. He reformed the religious and ethical life of the nation. During his time, the Assyrians under King Sennacherib pillaged Judah and carried away 200,250 people. But God protected Jerusalem, and the angel of the Lord drove the attackers back to Assyria. Hezekiah was age 25 when he became king, and he ruled Judah for 29 years with unqualified approval of his spiritual life. The author mentions that Hezekiah's mother was Abijah, daughter of Zechariah. This Zechariah was probably a spiritual advisor to Uzziah. This could indicate that Hezekiah was both of the line of kings and of priests. Ahaz, Hezekiah's predecessor, had closed the temple. One of Hezekiah's first official acts was to open the doors and begin repairs so that true worship could begin anew. Large areas in the temple enclosure were courts or squares open to the sky. Here Hezekiah addressed all the priests and the Levites, charging them with the cleanup of the entire temple. Hezekiah also instructed them to rededicate themselves to the service of God. Hezekiah clearly acknowledged the Hebrew people's great sin of turning their backs on God. They had paid dearly for it. Ahaz's reign had experienced continuous defeats at the hand of the Arameans, Israelites, Edomites, Philistines, and King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria. Many people of Judah had been taken into slavery by these enemies. Hezekiah made a new covenant with God and encouraged the Levites and priests to lead the people in worship once again. The Levites and priests went straight to work, clearing rubbish, rededicating the articles and tools used in worship, and offering burnt offerings, which quickly overwhelmed them in number. The backstory ends here, and our lesson begins with the next slide. Verses 1 through 2. Hezekiah sent word to all Israel and Judah, and also wrote letters to Ephraim and Manasseh, inviting them to come to the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem and celebrate the Passover to the Lord, the God of Israel. The king and his officials and the whole assembly in Jerusalem decided to celebrate the Passover in the second month. Verses 3 through 4. They had not been able to celebrate it at the regular time because not enough priests had consecrated themselves and the people had not assembled in Jerusalem. The plan seemed right both to the king and to the whole assembly. Verse 5. They decided to send a proclamation throughout Israel from Beersheba to Dan, calling the people to come to Jerusalem and celebrate the Passover to the Lord, the God of Israel. It had not been celebrated in large numbers according to what was written. Verse 6. At the king's command, couriers went throughout Israel and Judah with letters from the king and from his officials, which read, People of Israel, return to the Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, that he may return to you who are left, who have escaped from the hand of the kings of Assyria. Verses 7 through 8. Do not be like your parents and your fellow Israelites who were unfaithful to the Lord, the God of their ancestors, so that he made them an object of horror, as you see. Do not be stiff necked as your ancestors were. Submit to the Lord. Come to his sanctuary, which he has consecrated forever. Serve the Lord your God, so that his fierce anger will turn away from you. Verse 9. If you return to the Lord, then your fellow Israelites and your children will be shown compassion by their captors and will return to this land. For the Lord your God is gracious and compassionate. He will not turn his face from you if you return to him. Verses 26 through 27. There was great joy in Jerusalem, for since the days of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel, there had been nothing like this in Jerusalem. The priests and the Levites stood to bless the people, and God heard them, for their prayer reached heaven, his holy dwelling place. A brief summary. Chapter 29 told how Hezekiah's reform was worked out. The temple was cleared of its rubbish, the heathen altars removed. The priests and the Levites were also rededicated and ready to return to their assigned roles in worship. Hezekiah and the officials of the city led the way back to the Lord by bringing a sin offering on behalf of the kingdom. After this offering, the king and the princes themselves bowed and worshipped. The Levites sang praises, and all was made ready for the king to invite the congregation to enter with their sacrifices and worship. When regular offerings and valid sacrifices were at last offered, there was great rejoicing, and a host of worshipers united in the service of Jehovah. But this was just the beginning. Roughly 200 years had passed since 10 of Israel's 12 tribes had stopped coming to Jerusalem to worship. By 732 BC, the Assyrians had conquered Gilead and Galilee, including all the land of Naphtali, and deported the people to Assyria. In this time of religious decay and foreign threat, Hezekiah sent word to all Israel and Judah, inviting them to come celebrate the Passover together at Jerusalem. Hezekiah consulted his government officials and heads of the families in Jerusalem before settling the date of celebration. The regular appointed time of the Passover would be the 14th day of the first month, late March or early April, and began the week-long festival of unleavened bread. The law also provided an alternative date in the second month, so that if anyone were unclean at Passover time or away on a trip, that person could celebrate the Passover in the second month instead of the first. Since not all of the priests were sanctified and ready, and all the people invited could not gather in Jerusalem in time for the first date, Hezekiah delayed this Passover until the second month. According to the law, all adult male Israelites must be invited, So godly Hezekiah needed to reach all 12 tribes living between Beersheba in the south and Dan in the north, a span of 150 miles. He sent out a large number of couriers who read the invitation in the streets and marketplaces as quickly as possible. In Israel, Hezekiah appealed directly to the people. He called them to forsake idolatry and turn back to God, promising the remnant Israelites that God will return to them. The message reminded them not to be like their parents and fellow Israelites who turned against God and experienced the very horror they could now see all around them. If the Israelites yielded to the Lord and in faithful obedience made the pilgrimage to the temple in Jerusalem, even those in captivity would be set free. Thank you for listening. Stay safe and may God bless.